with that, I'm just going to kick it over to Wayne to tell him, all of us who his first winner was in this year's draft.
Thanks, Pat. Yeah. Oh man, this was an entertaining draft, I'd say. I feel like, if I have a kid and everything, I'll be like, all right, you're gonna be a wide receiver. I think that's the biggest takeaway out of all this. I think so. In terms of winners, though, I mean, I think there were two notable ones for me, but I'll go with the first one. It's got to be the Jets. I think they nailed it. And it's hard for anybody to say that the Jets nailed the draft, but I think they nailed it. I think, Sauce Gardner, I was a big fan of. Probably, in my opinion, the best cornerback. I think he was the second, but yeah, second taken, but number one in my book in terms of overall cornerbacks in the draft. So I think, they got the number one cornerback, listed there. And then they also got the number one, I think what a lot of people had, number one wide receiver in Garrett Wilson. So, two number one, number two players in their positions. And you're talking about wide receiver cornerbacks. So like those are like some of the top positions you want the top people on. So, those are playmaking positions. So I think they nailed it there. And then, trading up into the first round to get Jermaine Johnson, who, a lot of people projected to him like top 15. Nice edge rushers. So they really solidified their defense more so on there. And then adding in some tight end help with Ruckert, Max Mitchell too. I think PFF has a good grade on him. Clemens too, good DE. So I think they just nailed it out of the ballpark. Oh yeah, and then also the running back, Breece Hall, who I think was also the number one running back too in the draft. So it's like, who, like, which did they have a bad pick? I don't know if they had a bad pick at all. I think they were all solid. Pat, what do you think about the Jets? Like, did they actually do good at this thing? I feel like they've shifted the tide here.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, that one was knocked right out of the park when I was watching the draft. I had Jermaine Johnson going number 7 overall. I think, perhaps that was a little bit, of an overestimation, but I think, reading some of the analyst reports and some of the mock drafts I saw, I mean, there was a lot of helium around just his athletic ability and just, maybe his ability to just break out as a pro. So to kind of get him at the end of the first round when, like you were saying, most were projecting him inside top 15 at least. I mean, that's a steal in its own right. Not to mention you just get, home run hitters, I think, with Ahmad Gardner and then Garrett Wilson, like you're saying too. And in today's day and age, and I think you mentioned this on the last episode when we talked about running backs, you're getting a bona fide, probably a first 1 of 3 round fantasy, running backs, projections there with Breece Hall. So it's like you're bringing in some playmakers at some very important positions for Zach Wilson. Their GM has been catching, a lot of flack, going from last year to this year, just in terms of, reorganizing, that team, post, trading their safety, Jamal Adams, getting a bunch of draft capital, but really, having to make smart selections here, working with, some of the capital, financially that he's gotten, going into this year. And honestly, kind of looking at what I had projected with a trade to the 49ers for, potentially Deebo Samuel, I think this makes a lot more sense for them. I think their, window to compete is still, maybe a year or two more away than the other, teams in their division. And maybe this is a great chance for them to just say, we're building an absolute foundation and culture of homegrown players that are going to be ours and only ours. We're not going to draft, or I guess trade, a handful of picks that we absolutely need, just to, put a Band-Aid on a bleeding wound. So I think with that, they just nailed it on all those marks, and they're hearing the praise so far.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like those points. And yeah, I think their whole thing is like, let's make it so that Zach Wilson can't actually fuck this up. I think that's the whole thing. Let's surround him with talent. Let's have a good defense. We have a defensive minded coach, so he can take care of that. Let's get him some weapons. Hopefully, was it the left tackle Mekhi Becton actually, isn't fat, completely fat, and can actually do all that. I think there's reports he was like 400 pounds or something like that. this off season. So it's like, all right, let's get on that treadmill a little bit, So, but if they can, solidify that more so, get maybe get some more weapons in there, maybe some offensive lineman help just to make sure it's solidified. It's hard not to be like, hey, I want the Jets to actually do well. I think, so they do a lot of. They had a great draft, and yeah, I'm looking forward to what the rest of they're going to be doing. I think in the off season. So yeah.
Yeah, it's good that the Jets didn't jet, because I thought that they would jet at some point in this draft, and they seriously let it just come to them. I think that's one of the takeaway lessons I've learned from this draft specifically, because with let's say a quarterback void in the first round kind of draft, it really made the team just stay focused on who are the best players out there.
Yeah,
let's not do anything super crazy. I mean, some did, but let's not overstep our bounds here on players that don't deserve to fall in these slots. And I think they won every slot that they, were given.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I don't think they overdrafted. I think that's the whole thing. A lot of teams in the first round, there was that run, I think, with wide receivers, right? That they were just kind of going left and right. And then some teams were trading up and all. And it was like, wait, does this make sense for this person to be drafted at this position, especially for wideout? And, I guess this whole offseason got people a little panicked, with all the transactions at wideout. It's like, oh, we need to get our own guy and get him under team control and all, before he demands like $30 million or something like that. So, it's nuts. But I think, the Jets specifically just were like, you know what? Yeah, we're not going to overdraft. We're going to stick our ground. They traded up for Jimmy Johnson. We totally made sense there in the later first round. So, I think it was I think they hit the ball in the ballpark here. So yeah,
for sure. Did you want to close out with another winner?
Yeah, let me see. So my favorite draft team, my AFC team, the Ravens. It was my